Hello everybody and welcome to Emily
and Sarah's
Halloween Horror Movie Marathon.
Oh.
Sarah and I have been watching horror movies since the beginning of September because it's Halloween season and Sarah has been talking more about wanting to write horror, and so I thought if you're going to write horror you should know horror more. So she's been reading a lot of horror books and we've been watching horror movies, and I thought it would be fun to do sort of a discussion, like a mother-daughter book club sort of, but with movies. Basically what we're going to do is talk about a couple different movies in each video, and we're going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 boos as far as what we think of the movie, if it was a good movie or a bad movie. So today we're going to be talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. One of my favorites. I'm very excited. So let's start with the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the classic. I'm going to go ahead and give you my rating first. I give it 5 boos.
So give it 5 boos.
It's awesome.
Was the best of all of them, and one of the only ones that I actually enjoyed watching. I think the first one overall is the absolute best. And one of the only ones that I really enjoyed fully, both story-wise and character-wise and scariness-wise. I think this one is probably the scariest.
Yes.
And it really tries to be scary rather than the other ones trying to be all goofy and weird.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The original did go for the scare factor more than anything else. I think in the first movie it's really establishing that this guy is a killer. He's not there to be jokey. He's there to mess with you, which later in other movies does get a little bit on the hokey side, but I think in the first one especially, he is there to torment you and to really mess with your head because he likes to play with his food before he eats it.
And also the other thing I really liked about this movie was the character of Nancy herself. I think Nancy's pretty much my all-time favorite horror character. And
Your favorite final girl?
Yeah, my favorite final girl because I don't know, other final girls are okay, but none of them are really as cool as Nancy was.
I think she was great too. I love Heather Langenkamp. I thought she did a really good job in the part of Nancy. I think one of the things that I especially like about Nancy, and I don't know, maybe you think the same thing, is that she's such an ordinary looking person. She's not, the busty blonde who is running around naked the whole movie. She's very ordinary, and she looks like she could be somebody that you know. She could be you. I mean, she's very just relatable in that way, and I think that makes a big difference in how you relate to her as a character. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the busty blonde that runs around naked is the one
usually
that dies.
The ones that die. That's true. Let's move on. We did not, in our movie reviewing watch the second movie, because I hate it, and I will briefly just barely touch on it. I give it a -1 if I can. I don't know, when I was a kid we were obsessed with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. We watched them in marathon. We would put them on and watch them all day, and we never had to. When we finally got a hold of a copy of the second movie, I just hated it so much. It was so weird. It was not what we were expecting it to be, and I don't know, maybe my brother would have different things to say, because I think he hated it too, but I feel like it was just weird, and it didn't fit in the rest of the mythology. It was very bizarre. I don't know if I would feel differently about it if I watched it now. I've just never had a desire to rewatch it. I'd be curious to hear any of your thoughts on that one, because I just don't like it. So we're going to jump to 3, which is the second movie we watched in our Nightmare on Elm Street series. I give Dream Warriors a 4.
I give Dream Warriors a 3.
So I love this movie. This is probably, as a kid, this was probably my favorite in the series, or my second favorite. 1, 3, and 4 are my favorites. But 3 was really good. 3, I think, establishes the mythology more, which I appreciate, getting more background on who this Freddy character is. I really liked the setup of being able to use your own powers in your dreams and being able to take control. I thought that was a great way to set up how to fight back. And And we'll get to you in a second. And I also think that the kills get really interesting in this one. Like Philip's death is one of my favorites in the whole series. I just think the way they did that was really cool. And like that's the one that always comes to mind when I think about Nightmare on Elm Street. That's the first thing
I think that's
I think
the best
of.
kill in that whole movie.
Yeah,
like,
maybe even the whole
really...
series. I almost think that and Tina in the first one are like the two best death scenes in all of the movies. But I think that it's a classic in my opinion. And now I know you're going to poop all over it, so go ahead. What do you want to say?
I didn't hate this movie. As you can see, I gave it 3 instead of 1. But
Yeah.
I liked the beginning of the movie. Like, it opened well, and Philip's death was very good. But as it continued on, it kind of started to lose me. And, well, you really like the whole Dream Warrior thing and fighting back. I don't think that worked for me, like, at all. Like, if you really pay attention, like, their dream powers really were essentially useless. They didn't really do much of anything by the end of the movie. And then at the very end, the only people that actually, like, were fighting back against Freddy and defeating him were Nancy and, that doctor guy. The kids didn't actually do much of anything. So... And Kristen was a very weak final girl. Like, she didn't do anything for me.
So basically, this would have been a 2. Except for Nancy, so it's a 3.
Yeah. Pretty much like giving an extra point for Nancy.
Yeah. Okay. Nancy garners extra points. Okay, so now we're going to jump to the next movie, which I know you hated, but I love. I give Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, 4 boos. And I'm going to say right off the bat that probably 2 of those boos are straight up nostalgia factor. I loved this movie. This was probably my favorite when I would rewatch them as a kid. And I loved the music. I love how, like, just so 80s this movie is. It was, like, such an 80s teen movie without meaning to be. Or maybe it was meaning to be. I don't know. I love it. I love how creative the kills get in this one. It's just there's more like setup of who these characters are, and then their deaths are going to reflect who they are, which I thought was an interesting way to go about it. They sort of do that in the 3rd movie, but not as much as they did in the 4th movie. And I'll also throw in that I think Rick is maybe my favorite thing in the whole movie, which again is like I was watching this as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, and very small Emily was in love with Rick, and, he was just so handsome, and he did karate, and
I'm very generously giving this movie a 2. This movie had no plot. It was like, that's...
I could argue that. I could argue. It did sort of have a plot.
Alright, compared to all the other movies in the series, this had no plot.
Well...
Alright, and the worst part, like, the thing that made me, like, instantly go, okay, I'm not enjoying this movie at the beginning, was the fact that they just instantly killed off the 3 remaining Elm Street kids from the 3rd movie in, like, first half hour.
Because that was how they move on.
Yeah, but, like...
He needed to get rid of the Elm Street kids in order to get new kids.
Yeah, but still, that
so
was
by killing off the Elm Street children...
So that even solidifies the whole, the Dream Warriors are pathetic. Like, they...
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll give you that maybe, but...
4th movie made the 3rd movie worse for me.
I would argue, though, too, that they were less powerful in the 4th movie because 2 of them had kind of moved on.
Yeah.
They figured they didn't need to worry anymore because they thought they killed Freddy, and so they were ready to just put that whole thing to rest, and they weren't prepared. When you're in battle mode, you're stronger than you are when you're caught unawares. So they weren't ready to fight back. They were unprepared, therefore they were easy kills.
Yeah. I still think it was kind of stupid if they just kind of knocked him off.
I mean, because Kristen put up a fight. And then she was able to pass on her powers. So I think, well, I understand your problem with it. I think it's defendable.
Okay.
But, and also I want to point out you're fussing about the lack of plot. This was written during the movie strike, and they didn't have a script. So when you think about how well put together it is, when they didn't have any script to speak of,
that's where the 2 came from. Like,
then it's not that bad.
Like, I'll accept the fact that for what they did, it could have been way worse.
It could have been way worse. So
for what it is, it's not horrible, but I didn't enjoy it.
And I want to say, too, I really liked Alice. I know you think that Nancy is the best. I don't argue that. Nancy is good. But I also think Alice has a really strong standing in the final girl.
And also, she doesn't
Zone.
die.
No.
Because
So-
Nancy and Kristen both die. So I'll give her that.
So, Alice is a survivor. And I love the development of Alice throughout the movie. I love how they portray that and how they set her up with all these different powers throughout the movie, and you see her growing. I think that's really cool, and I really like her
I
as
thought
a
the
final
power thing
girl.
was kind of weird, though, because if Kristen gave her power, why is her power still different than Kristen's?
I've been thinking about this since you argued
Yeah.
that. So here's my theory. I think that Alice had an innate ability to adapt. That was her power. Now with Kristen's power on top of that, she now has this different
Maybe.
power. I think that it's not going to be exactly the same as Kristen. So it's her power and Kristen's combined becomes Alice's power.
Sense,
So
that
yeah.
just confused me throughout the whole movie. Like, why is she doing this? That wasn't what Kristen did.
No. So next up, we're going to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, and this is my least favorite in the entire series.
Worse than 2?
No, 2 doesn't exist. We don't talk about 2.
Okay.
But of the ones that I will watch, this is my least favorite, and I give it a 2.
I
boos.
also give it a 2.
My problem with this movie, I think overall, the most overarching problem is the whole idea of Freddy feeding souls to Alice's baby. Like,
Yeah.
why?
That makes absolutely no sense.
Why would he do that? What benefit does he
Yeah.
get from this? It doesn't make any sense. What's he going to do with this kid? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't, I don't know. He doesn't need a progeny. He doesn't need to pass his abilities on to somebody. This is also the same problem I had with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Come to think of it, like, the plot makes no sense in the rest of the series. So yeah. I find this movie very confusing. It doesn't make sense for him to do that.
Yeah. The only reason I'm giving it a 2 is because this actually has plot. Like, I'm going to bonus points and it actually tried to have a plot, even though the plot wasn't very good. At least
It made an
attempt. Yeah.
Even though that attempt was stupid.
Yeah.
It made no sense. I also think that the kills in this movie are so lame. I'll give you that Dan's death is semi-cool, but the other 2 are so just awful. It makes no sense. Like, she eats to death.
Yeah. And also, like,
I don't know.
Apparently, for what I've read online, the original version of this movie got like an X rating for how gory it was.
Which I'm like, I've never seen that. What is that? There's 3 deaths.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are almost barely anything. Like, the eating to death is just weird. But the other one, Mark. I think his name was Mark. He was paper.
Yeah. And
What is that?
And there was a part of it that
There
was
must have been
censored,
something
but-
because literally he was paper.
Yeah.
He's a piece of paper that gets torn. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I need to go and seek out this uncensored version. Have you seen it? I've never seen or heard of this
they have
before now.
clips of the uncensored version in that documentary you're watching.
Okay, well, we need to finish that because we never got up to that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been slowly watching Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy. So we've only gotten up to, I think, the 4th movie.
Halfway through.
Halfway through the 4th movie, so we need to finish that, and maybe that'll explain 5 in a way that makes me hate it less. Let's move on to Sarah's least favorite, I think. Freddy's Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street 6. I'm gonna give it a very generous 2 boos. Listen, as an adult, I'm giving it 2 boos. As 11-year-old Emily, I'm going to give it 5 boos because 11-year-old Emily thought this movie was the shit. It was so good. I was so excited about it. It was just everything to me at 11. So 11-year-old Emily, 5 boos.
Yeah.
Grown-up Emily with a little more sense, 2 boos.
No. 1 boo. This movie was
Because you know what?
so bad.
This was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie that I actually got to go and see in a movie theater.
And the reason you can go see it was this was geared towards 11-year-olds.
I could go see it because I think the one that came out before that was like 1989. So I was 9 years old when the 5th one came out.
Yeah.
So I was still a little bit too young to go and see that in the theater. Even though my father let me watch it at home when I was much younger, I was watching, I think I was like 5 years old, seriously, 4 or 5 years old when I saw the first movie. Traumatized me for the longest time, but I got over it and I started to like the movies. But yeah, But I legit was so excited about this movie. I remember the hype around it when it came out. We were talking about it on the school bus and going to middle school. I was so excited about it. I mean, it was as hyped as a movie can be in 1991. So I remember being so excited.
It basically pulled a Five Nights at Freddy's, where it started out as this really cool, awesome, creepy horror thing that devolved into something that middle school kids are obsessed with.
I loved it. I thought the 3D thing was amazing. I thought the whole thing
was
in 3D.
Funny.
It was so fun. That
was my favorite part, was when she put on the 3D glasses and everything.
Well, that was your cue in the audience to put it on. So 90s 3D was lame, okay? I'm sorry. But at the time we didn't know it was lame. We thought it was cool. Or I thought it was cool. Maybe other people were more aware than I was. But I loved it. And so watching it now as an adult, I can see the big problems. The story was dumb.
Yeah.
Having a child, period,
Yeah.
makes no sense in the scheme of things. Like the whole, like, he had a wife and child and was doing this in his basement, and like, I don't know, the whole thing felt weird to me. And also the mythology they set up in this movie,
it's not
doesn't
canon.
Make sense.
This is not canon.
It can't be, because it makes no sense with later movies.
Yeah.
So it's very
they tried
bizarre.
to end the series.
They were trying to end it.
It didn't end.
It didn't end.
So this entire movie is pointless.
The whole idea of there are no more children in Springwood and the adults are kind of crazy. It didn't make sense for that to happen. And then when you see the Freddy versus Jason later, it just doesn't work anymore.
And also I read somewhere that originally this movie is going to be starring Jacob from 5 as a teenager.
Yes, I remember that being a thing.
Worked.
Listen, okay.
Better than this.
When I saw it as an 11-year-old, I had this whole theory while I was watching it that the John Doe character was Jacob. And I was so sure I was right up until they revealed that it wasn't, that I was so, disappointed in myself that I didn't, I thought it was me that, didn't understand why, and now looking back, I'm like, well, why didn't they do that? That would have been so much cooler. Anyway, moving on. This is one of my favorite movies, not just as a part of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but, in the genre as a whole. And that's Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and I give it 5 boos.
Me too.
I think this movie is just so interesting. It's so meta. It's so weird. It's like a movie within a movie. I love weird stories, and this is probably one of the weirder stories you get to see on film. I think the way they play it out in the whole movie is just so cool. I love that Wes is writing the story and he doesn't understand what's happening, but he knows that somehow it's real, but he keeps writing it anyway, and that everything he writes is being lived out by Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund and Dylan and all that. I just think that the way they did it is really interesting and really well done and really smart, and I love movies like that.
And the reason I love this movie so much is that I watched the original Nightmare on Elm Street last year, and she pretty much hyped up the rest of the series as even better than the first one, so I was really excited for us to do a series. And was so disappointed by how different they were than the first one. They didn't, do anything for me like the first one did. And then he finally got around to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and this was pretty much exactly what I wanted of the rest of the series. It had the same creepiness as the first one. There were a bunch of parts that were paying homage to scenes from
I was just going to point that out. Yeah. I love that the one that's just like Tina, and also Dan, they pay homage to Dan's death, kind of. And it's not just the first movie, it's throughout the whole series. I don't know, I thought it was really cool. I love the idea of Dylan being the protagonist and
I think that also
being a child.
I think that also really made this movie so interesting to me, because realistically speaking, don't you think that Freddy would go after children in their dreams? I mean, clearly in the slasher films that has to be teenagers.
Especially since children tend to have much more vivid nightmares.
Yeah, that's another thing I really liked about the first one, is that it really did remind me of nightmares I had as a small child, which kind of
makes
made
me wonder what disturbing things that I've done to you that you have those kind of nightmares.
I mean, I had
in boiler rooms and with sheep and
really anymore. But I had lots of nightmares as a small child.
Your poor baby. Okay.
Yeah. And just...
I don't have nightmares like that. I don't remember, like,
Really?
even when I wake up and I'm aware that I was having a nightmare, in the nightmare itself, I'm never scared.
Really?
Really, it's weird. I know things are happening that are, like, really weird or scary, but I'm just sort of like, oh, look, there's a thing coming at me. I should probably go that way. Like, I'm just weird. I don't know. I'm so lazy. I'm even lazy in my nightmares.
Wow.
Anyway, so, yeah, one of the things I liked about Dylan being the protagonist is that, one, you get a much scarier version of Freddy because he's much more big and intimidating, being that the child would be seeing him that way.
Yeah.
Also, the whole thing with Rex.
Oh, I loved Rex.
The little stuffed dinosaur sitting at the end of his bed
Rex.
to protect him. Oh,
Rex was my favorite character.
that is the sweetest and saddest thing about the movie is that this is a baby. He's a baby, and like he has a stuffed animal that protects him, and I don't know. That makes me think of my own children and their stuffed animals. I'm like, my
Do you remember
children's stuffed
Riley
animals.
having an army?
Yeah,
in his
Riley
bed
used to
to
set up a
protect
little
him.
army around him in his bed because I guess Riley had nightmares too, and he would protect himself with his stuffed animal army. So yeah, that's the way I see it now. And I don't know. I loved that movie. It was really good.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap that up now because I think we've been talking a long time. So, do you like the Freddy movies, the Nightmare on Elm Street series? What's your favorite in the series? We'd love to hear about it. Comment down below.
And also, what's your least favorite?
And yeah, rank them. I would love to see your rankings because how would you rank them?
From best to worst?
Yeah,
or worst
best to worst.
Okay, well, best is the original.
1. Yeah.
Then Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Then 3. Then 4. Then 5 and 6. Like, it
You know what?
gets progressively worse.
I think I'm right there with you. I think I would swap 3 and 4. But otherwise I think we're the same. So.
Wait, how can you like 4 better than 3 though?
Nostalgia! Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to film more videos in this series, and we'll be talking about all the horror movies that we watch over the course of September and October. We have a huge list. Are there any movies that you think we should check out? Let us know down below in the comments, and we'll try to get to them. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.
Bye.